Salutations, my Legion of Doom. I'm your Time Lord wannabe, the Brainstormer of pop culture. So yes, I've decided to do my own take on the movie. While I did like the movie, I do have gripes with the storytelling. It does have varying degrees of inconsistencies, retcons, and plot holes. However, I did love the smaller, quieter moments that built relations with these characters. I just think it could be better, and I had ideas that I think would have kept the audience guessing on the edge of their seats. Now, I'm not saying my ideas are better than what we were presented with, but I feel that it could have been done better. Now, I don't blame the cast or filmmakers for these problems. They did their best. It's just my opinion and feelings on the matter. But I'm not saying my version is better. I'm just doing this as a hobby and something for you to enjoy and to test my ability with this story. Again, not saying my version's better, just different take is all. If you haven't seen the first two videos, I must recommend you watch those first to truly understand this. Please do so before continuing on. Thank you. Now, if you have seen those videos, let's continue. So in the last video, I only covered the first half of the cast, and I'll now be covering the latter half of my cast to round it out. So let's refresh what characters I hadn't talked about in the last video. We have Bucky Barnes, Sam Wilson, aka Falcon, King T'Challa, aka Black Panther, Rocket Raccoon, Nebula, James Rhodes, aka War Machine. So as a refresher, we do have a 13 ensemble cast with Ant-Man as our primary protagonist, meaning we follow him on the journey with the new Avengers, but most get a good amount of screen time. So let's get into the meat and potatoes of my versions of these characters of this Avengers Endgame rewrite. So first off, we have Bucky Barnes. When Steve disappeared in the snap, Bucky was very shocked at the image of his best friend fading into nothing. He felt lost and alone, but thanks to Falcon, he's been able to pull himself out of that funk, and in memory and tribute of Steve Rogers, becoming the new Captain America, in a way to give hope to the remaining people of the world. He does his best to be the best hero he can be, even if sometimes he comes off a little bit cold, which more often than not isn't what he means to. While he, Falcon, Black Panther, and Spider-Man focus on stopping the influx of worry and riots on Earth, he finds solace in doing his part, seeing himself being Captain America as a way of redemption for him. He also enjoys working with Spider-Man, having a rivalry with him and Falcon when it comes to fighting, see who can beat the most bad guys. Number 2, Sam Wilson, aka Falcon, friend and partner of Steve Rogers, now partner with Steve's best friend James Buchanan, Bucky Barnes, who's now the current Captain America. While Sam was hesitant at first for Bucky to take up the red, white, and blue, he can understand why Bucky felt he needed to don the suit. So he, Buck, Spider-Man, and Black Panther have been traveling around the world, stopping giant riots and disorder. He and Buck act like good friends, which they are, while both enjoy training and messing with their new recruit, often playing off his naivete. Sam even has given Peter a nickname, Spider-Punk, to show the camaraderie they both have. Number 3 is King T'Challa, aka Black Panther. After the initial snap and seeing much of his people disappear, T'Challa joined the new Avengers, leaving M'Baku in charge of Wakanda until the Infinity Stones are found. He and James Rhodes act as co-leaders of the new Avengers team, even though T'Challa works more on the field than coordinating missions with Rhodey. He often finds himself at odds with Doctor Strange, who acts cryptic when T'Challa asks him questions about his vision of the future, but he takes his mind off it when he works with Falcon, Bucky Barnes, and Spider-Man. Since the new Avengers needed help with tracking the stones, T'Challa had Wakandan technology used in the equipment. Star-Lord, Rocket Raccoon, and Nebula would use when they are searching the galaxy. Number 4, Rocket Raccoon. After learning of the death of Gamora, Drax, Mantis, and seeing his best friend Groot vanish in front of him, Rocket was almost drowned in his despair, but his friend and sister, Nebula, was able to pull him out of it by giving him the hope of getting most of his family back if they can beat Thanos and find the stones. Now, as the remains of the Nova Corps and the Ravagers have formed the Guardians of the Galaxy Corps, he enjoys playing the gruff and tough drill sergeant, even though he's almost always messing with them. When they are away from Earth, Rocket's often communicating with Peter Parker, consulting on the energy waves that the stones give off, who Rocket often treats the kid like teenage Groot, even though Rocket would never admit it. They have a good back and forth. Mainly Rocket wants to help Star-Lord, who one of the last members of his family open up again to share his pain with Rocket and Nebula, but Quill has been apprehensive about it. Rocket just doesn't want Quill to end up being whom Rocket was when they first met. Number 5 is Nebula, the last daughter of Thanos, a title she extremely despises to have, but uses it as a reminder of her sister Gamora that she lost and wishes to stop her father in her sister's name. She was there to help Rocket overcome his grief and tries to help Star-Lord now, even if he's incredibly stubborn about it. As she and Rocket hang out more, she and him have picked up a rivalry of sorts, seeing who's the better shot and competitions of that like. It helps pass the time when they have spent months hunting for Thanos and the stones. Lastly, we have number 6, James Rhodes, aka War Machine. Immediately after the snap, Rhodey took charge forming the new Avengers, becoming co-leader with King T'Challa. More often than not, Rhodey is leading from the chair/computer. He coordinates the team from Avengers base. Not often lately does he need to be on the front lines. He's communicating with Star-Lord, Rocket Raccoon, and Nebula, checking in on our progress on tracking Thanos. Like T'Challa, he often butts heads with Doctor Strange, finding the Sorcerer frustrating due to him not sharing any of the details or knowledge he has on Thanos. So this was my finishing up of the ensemble cast for Avengers Endgame. I believed these characters didn't need as much character work as those of my previous list, my previous video, so that's why they were shorter in comparison to the others. While I do think these are vital characters for the story, again, they just did not seem to have much character work needed done. And in brightest day and blackest night, no evil shall escape my sight. Until next time, my legion.